welcome back to my channel. So on today's video we're going to be talking about average returns, right? Pretty simple calculations, nothing major, nothing hard. Okay, so remember back in primary when we used to do the mean, mode, median calculations. So you're going to focus more on the mean calculations. You see how simple it is? It's really simple. Okay, so average returns, they give you the opportunity to see the past performance of the company and the recent performance of the company and judge on both the recent and the past. You not just judge by the last performance, which was the recent one. So please make sure that you don't judge a company by its recent returns. Look at its historical performance. Look at 5 years historical performance, 2 years historical performance. It's just up to you. Okay, so on today's video I'm just gonna do 6 months returns, nothing way back. Okay, so we're gonna make an example with the company called Naspers. So Naspers in March, its returns, not average, just returns, its returns was 18.5%, and when it came to June, its returns were 0.88%. And then in the last month it went to a negative, which was negative 4.68%. so by judging at its last return, you'll be like, nah, this is not a good company, right? But if you do your average return, you will see that, nah man, Naspers is not that bad after all. So you're gonna take March returns with June returns and July returns, and then you add all them up, and then you divide it by 6 months because we're doing 6 months returns, right? And then you will get 2.5%. So after all, even though its last return was a negative, but it's not a negative when you do your average return. This means that Naspers, it is a good company to invest in because its average returns is not a negative, it is a positive. So don't judge a company by its last returns, because you won't have that opportunity to see that that company is a good company because of looking at its last returns. Okay, so let's do an example with another company, which is Clicks Group Limited. So we all know what Clicks is what Clicks sells and everything. Okay, so Clicks, and in March it returned negative 10.7%. so those were not good returns. And then in June it went to negative 3.3%, which is increasing, so it's good. And in the last month its return was 10.57%, which is really good. But by looking at the recent return, you'll be like, oh man, Clicks has been doing great, you understand? And you don't see that it has been suffering in the past, but it's only gaining its strength now in the recent return. So by doing that, we're going to take all those months and then we add them all up, and then we divide it by 6, which is 6 months that we're doing, and you will get 0.5%. So you can see that by looking at the recent return, you can see that it's way up, and looking at the average return, it's really way down. So if you can judge by looking at Clicks and Naspers, you can see that Naspers has a higher average return than Clicks, even though its last return was 10.5, which was really higher than Naspers' last return, right? So let's do one last example. We're going to be looking at the company called Cashbuild. Okay, so in March, Cashbuild, its return was negative 6.8%. And then in June, the returns were 11.24%. And then in the last month, which was July, its return was 27.09%. You see how high that one was? And then we're gonna add all of them up and divide it by 6 for 6 months, and you're gonna get 5.25%. So looking at its last return, which was 27%, by looking at that, you can see that it was struggling in the past, but it's only gaining its strength now, and it's building itself up, right? And there's a possibility that Cashbuild can go down somehow, but at this point it is really worth buying into because it's really strengthening up, and it's strengthening up really good. Okay, so I hope that the 3 examples that I just did with you guys, looking at Naspers, Clicks and Cashbuild, they put you in the light if you didn't really understand the importance of doing average returns and not just looking at the recent returns because they can mislead you sometimes. So looking at the past performance and the recent performance together, and then dividing them by the months that you've been looking at, it will really give you an opportunity to look at if that company is worth buying into or not. Okay, so yeah guys, that's all that I wanted to talk about. If you have another perspective or another calculations, we can do average returns, or maybe you want to talk about annual returns, and whatever that you want to talk about, comment below. Okay, and yeah guys, that's all that I wanted to talk about. I hope that you really enjoyed this video and that you learned something, because that's what I'm always aiming at. And yeah, I will see you on my next video. Bye.